So the way I explain impulse control to people, it's just a very simple, we have a stimulus, whatever that might be. So that could be, oh, there's a puppy. I want to touch a puppy. Right. That's a stimulus. Mm-hmm. So that usually leads to thoughts or behavior or feelings, right? Whatever that is, right? So for him, it could be, oh my goodness, it's whatever, it's the kids. Woo! And he's like, I feel really good. Now I'm going to express it. So there's going to be this sort of decision where it's conscious or subconscious, it doesn't really matter. And then there's a behavior, whatever that might be. Sometimes it's in action as well. Sometimes it's not doing something, who knows. And then that usually leads to consequence. Now the consequence can be good or bad, right? So it can be good or it could be bad, whatever that means. Okay. And sometimes the consequence can automatically become the stimulus, blah, blah, blah. Impulse control is this, it's here. So usually when you have a stimulus and 0.02 seconds the dog does something, impulse control is there's a pause. There's a bit of a pause to step back. And kids and dogs, it's a skill they have to learn. It's not something that just happens. So that's very important. So a lot of people say, oh, your dog needs to be calm. Well, your dog also and children need to learn when they're in a higher state of arousal how to think. Because essentially, and in the layered stress model, one of the guys actually talk about this. There was a guy, some scientist called Jason Sandpeck or Pansek, or whatever his name is, I can never remember. And essentially the way he describes it, and I'm not a neurologist, but it's a really nice way to simplify it, is you have a reactive brain, if you will. It's usually I think it's your limbic brain, if I remember correctly. And you have your thinking brain, which is usually your neocortex, if you will. So the thing is that they are directly proportionate. So if you're 20% in reactive, you're 80% in thinking. So always, when someone's reactive, how do they learn to come back into thinking? Because when we're reactive, this is your freeze, fight, flight, friend. Yes?
It's hard.
Yes.
It takes a lot.
Of course. I mean, there's some people I know they can't help when they see chocolate eating it. And I'm like, but you're asking your dog not to chase the cat. It's very similar.
Yes, but I'm a human being.
I love it. Love it. Well, sentient being is sentient being, So it is very important to be able to learn and teach dogs and children how to work in such a high state of arousal through to problem solving, and for dogs as well. It takes a bit of time.
It does.
It does.
I know.
Yeah.
I have one.
Well, you have more than one. You have the furry ones
I
and the
have
little
the furry
ones.
one, and I have a 7-year-old who's very much like that.
Correct. And often what I'll do is, and it all depends on the way you're raising your kids and things, how you communicate. So I don't really interfere with that because that's not my job. My job's the dog side. But giving you the tools to help you is what I do. A leash is a fantastic mechanical tool to help a dog. I always tell people my leash is kind of like my fire warden. So when my dog's in reactive mode, I can actually grab my leash and guide if I have to. But I do also have to teach it. So everyone knows where's the assembly point when we're all calm and nothing's happening, but everyone runs around panicking when there's an emergency. And you have those fire wardens that go this way, this way, this way, right? But they need to know who it is, they need to know where they are, and they need to know they need to listen to them. You don't just listen to any person, because they might send you in the opposite direction, which is not helpful. Airplanes only has one aisle, and yet there's still lights on the ground to show you where the emergency exit is. So leashes are fantastic, and being able to help. Don't really put much on the kids. I teach them and the dogs pretty much like, there's action, consequence, there's reaction, there's whatever, and it's just helping them through it. Sometimes I manage more so that they don't get the opportunity, and this is where people who are what we call positive only trainers are fantastic. So when they say they ignore bad behavior, what they mean by that is they reward good behavior, because they manage the dog in such a way that it's so less likely that the dog will actually do the bad behavior.